Hi. I just want to continue the conversation I started about what I call the civilization indigenous dilemma. And the crux of that dilemma is this: that most people hearing this and most people today have grown up within the civilized world, and most of us would not want to give it up. This is a world that has given its citizens, us, antibiotics, modern medicine, and lifespans of 70 to 80 years, plus an ability to travel, visit and learn about other cultures, and see natural wonders beyond any horizon imaginable. And it's also made available books, televisions, computers, and an easy access to knowledge beyond anything possible in our remote past. And this just scratches the surface. Meanwhile, our first human ancestors appeared in Africa about 2.5 million years ago, and from there spread throughout the world in small hunting and gathering bands. During that time, human social and emotional lives evolved to function well in the presence of small groups from perhaps 40 to 100 people. Definitely not the life that most of us are living today. Taught and trained to be civilized, or some would say addicted to being civilized, the majority of us are unable to live without the structure and the fruits of civilization. Yet our inner and emotional lives remain and long for something fundamentally indigenous. I want to just pause here a bit to describe what's generally agreed upon about civilization. To the best of our knowledge, civilization began with the advent of the agricultural revolution between 4000 and 3000 BC. Those first planting cultures appeared in the broad, fertile river valleys of the ancient world: the Tigris and Euphrates of Mesopotamia, the Nile of Egypt, the Indus and Ganges of India, the Yellow and the Yangtze of China. Fertile land, the plentiful supply of water, and the early domestication of grains enabled surpluses of fruit to be grown, harvested, and stored. And this resulted in a rapid expansion of the population and occasioned the development of cities while simultaneously freeing a large percentage of the inhabitants from the task of acquiring food. Having large segments of the population freed from food gathering allowed time for a lot of experimentation, cultural and technological experimentation, and the development and manifesting of science, art, and architecture, writing and written records, as well as new forms of governing. All over the world, the rise of civilization is associated with three things. One, urbanization. It often involves the growth of cities and towns, leading to more and more complex social structures. Following that, social stratification. Civilizations exhibit hierarchies with distinct classes or groups based on factors like wealth, occupation, and social status. And three, symbolic systems of communication. Beyond spoken language, civilizations develop writing systems to record information and to communicate across time and space. As this process started and developed, the oneness of the hunting and gathering began. The oneness of the hunting and gathering bands began to dissolve. The rise of settlements, first villages and then increasingly larger cities, meant that wild or unmanaged landscapes became further and further away from most inhabitants. One could say that as cities and civilization grew, nature retreated. And with a growing population freed from the daily tasks related to finding and gathering food, increased specialization became more and more a part of present reality. Farmers, soldiers, blacksmiths, toolmakers, priests, shopkeepers, scribes, plus record keepers to keep track of it all, they all shared a certain geographical area, but had very different lives and different agendas. And these first civilizations, which developed 5,000 to 6,000 years ago in a few distinct areas, but this transformation spread and grew until it had reached and changed most every part of the planet by the mid-1800s. Meanwhile, these worlds, the civilized and the indigenous, are inherently in conflict. We could say, and I think it's mostly true, that most people have an indigenous soul and are living in and would choose a civilized existence. This tension is expressed in the sense of emptiness and the longing for community and a life that's meaningful. Years ago, I remember reading that there are 3 things we humans need to be happy. We need a place we belong. We need the sense that what we say and do makes a difference. And we need a connection with something greater than ourselves. Clearly, the first 2, a place we belong and the sense that what we say and do makes a difference, and possibly even the third, but the first 2 certainly have to do with community. 100 years ago, Sigmund Freud said, "The price of civilization is neurosis." What he meant, and the explanation for that is, in a small band of 40 to 50 people, all of whom know you, whatever your gift or predilection is will be responded to, and the community will find a way or help guide you to find a way where that gift contributes to the greater whole. But in a much larger grouping, say a city of 100,000, much less a country of 300 million, you aren't well known. And what the community needs, and hence values, might be 10,000 coal miners. And the guidance and pressure will be aligned with making sure that those coal miners are there and available. You think anyone's dream or predilection has ever been to be a coal miner? I seriously doubt it. And back to Freud, he would say that the distance between your dream or inner predilection and the life you lead, whether coal miner, soldier, computer programmer, surgeon, or whatever, that distance marks the dimension of your disconnection and your neurosis. So I want to just start here by accepting that this tension is unavoidable. And the answer is not to value one world at the expense of the other, to promote civilization while criticizing our more primal yearnings as childish, nor romanticize some noble savage while condemning the civilized mind. We are both. We are civilized people with indigenous souls, and both of those faces contain some of the best and the worst of who we can be. My feeling is this conflict must be mitigated or managed to have a fulfilling and satisfying life. And I believe the most important, and the practical question is how. And I hope to get to that in my next post. Take care. Have a good day. Be well.